Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be making our models. We're going to start with the net because the net is our primary obstacle in the game, and then we're going to make the stands for the net, and at the end of the day we'll make the terrain as well. Now how this is going to work is that I'm going to basically tell you what I'm about to do, and then I'm going to do it, and I'm going to speed it up while I'm doing it. Now if you want to follow along, you'll have to like slow down the video to 0.25. So that's you got to slow it 4 times, and that will allow you to watch it in real time because I'll speed it up by 4 times. Okay. Anyway, without further ado, we're gonna start making our net, and the thing I'm gonna create is basically I'm gonna make it from a polygon, a simple polygon, set of polygons. But there's obviously other ways. You could always use curves. However, that will create tubes by default. So if you wanted to, make a net from these curves, right, and then turn them into, um, like loft them or extrude something into them and extrude maybe like a circle, and that will make like a string. But that's a little bit too heavy for what I think we will need, because let's face it, the player will not actually see the net, because at the end of the day, it will be like a side scroll, so it will be something like this. So the same way you don't see, like, you do see this axis but you see very little of it, you will mostly see this axis here. So you really, like, we don't really need that much detail on our net. The reason we need to make the net and not have it just as a flat plane is because we will have to make it a cloth, so that it impacts the game. It's not there just some kind of a barrier, but that it's dynamic, that when you shoot the ball, when you hit the ball and it hits the net, that the net actually reacts to it, and it's not always predictable if the ball is going to go through or not. Okay, but we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, so I'm going to go ahead and make this happen, and I'll speed this up, and you guys do what you want, either skip ahead or just follow along or just watch this. All right. Okay, guys, before we continue with this, I wanted to mention something here. If we take a look into these objects, let me just combine this real quick. Um, combine. Let me see if I can merge this. Merge by name, merge by UV link. Yeah, this is just the UVs. I think there was a bonus tool thing here. Like right before I merged them, I just wanted to show you something. Notice that even though, let's say these are together, okay, and there's overlapping, their edges are overlapping. Now that means that their vertices are also overlapping. So we can actually select these two, and if we move them, you will see that they're actually one on top of the other. So if we connect these two, if we just combine them now, let me just combine them here. We just combine them right now. When we take a look here, you will quickly see that we have two edges. Now they're two edges because I actually didn't properly connect them, but I did this so that you can actually see that even though these things are connected, well, I actually kind of screwed it up, didn't I? Screwed the whole thing here. Yeah. But point is that at the end of the day, you're gonna have to somehow clean these edges out. Okay, so if we go ahead and go into separate just for a second and see what the hell, why did that happen like this? Yeah, I'm gonna have to redo this whole thing, I think. Just delete these two suckers. Move this here. Okay, now we're back. Okay, so now this should be a little bit more appropriate here. Yes, I believe these are just the right size. So if we take a look here, we could always combine them and merge them, you know, by hand, but I believe there is a bonus tool here for modeling. And if we take a look at it, it's called combine and merge. So we should be able to combine and merge both of these meshes. In fact, all of these meshes we should be able to combine and merge. So like this. And I do believe that this will enable us to, this will remove a lot of these vertices. As you can see here, the edges, the amount of edges here were, you know, just diminished by 4, right? So, and we have 4 edges here that we need to kill, because if you take a look here, we're currently have 64 edges, right? And if I combine and merge, this will remove 4 of them. In other words, here, if I go into vertex mode and I select this vertex here, if I can select it, thank you, and move it, there's nothing underneath it, right? There's nothing underneath it. I can go ahead, this will enable me to go ahead and just delete the vertices, the vertex with the edge, all right? But we're not going to do that because we're going to need the extra definition for the deformation of this object, because remember, we want it to deform, in other words, to be a cloth, okay? Right, anyway, I'm going to continue now. This is all I wanted to say, that like you don't want to be having overlapping vertices. There's also other ways, like if you selected the vertex here, we just go to vertex face actually. Notice that these have, like, currently they're separated, right? So technically speaking, there should be 2 vertices here, but there aren't because we merged them. But let's go ahead and I don't think we can delete this one now. But if you had, like, let's say 2 vertices here, one above the other, if you had 2 here, you could always go ahead and just merge them through this tool here, right? Either merge vertices to center, which in this case would be the center here, but it wouldn't work if you selected both of these, right? If you merge these to center, then you're going to have this sort of a, you know, they're going to merge to the center of this stuff. Obviously, there's options here. You could click on them and, you know, you can work around with them, like the distance threshold, which is the most important bit anyway when it comes to merging. So if you can merge them, distance, it's normalized anyway. So there's a, like, depending on how far away it is, and you can always merge 2 vertices together if, you know, if you had 2, which is what we actually wanted to do. But this bonus tool actually provided us with the option of doing just that. All right, guys, I'm going to continue now. I'm going to make this whole thing work. Okay, guys, so here's our net. Now, you might say that this is a fairly heavy piece of geometry, because it has like 1700 verts, but it's actually not that bad, because let's face it, we're not going to have that much stuff on the screen, so this will not provide us with much, you know, won't be much of a challenge. We could also just create, you know, go ahead and to modify and center the pivot around our object, and then we can bake it in. We can bake this pivot in, and then we can make, you know, just either the position, or, but we're going to bake it with both of them. So yeah, our object is done. In other words, we just have, let me just center this thing here. If I can center it, it'd be nice. There we go. So this is what our net is going to look like. Now, obviously, it won't be, you know, a flat like this. It'll be upright, down, you know, upright. So we can actually go ahead and rotate this, right? And then we can, well, maybe I should have rotated it on the other way. So 90 degrees, right? And then we can move this up a little bit, like so. And this would be our net, yeah. Something like this. And then we're gonna have 2 things on one, like on each side. But it's important to you know, to get this thing right, because we want to actually finish it off. It's not complete yet. What we want to do is actually connect this top bit and this bottom bit. What we're going to do this after we actually create the pylons that are going to hold the net together. Okay, so just play around with this. Maybe make your own different variation. There's tons of ways of making a net. Okay, there's tons of ways of making a net. This is just the one I used right now. You can obviously do this in other ways. But at the end of the day, what we want to do is have this completely connected. So, one option is to delete this top bit. This would be the easiest approach. The other one would be to, extrude these and, connect them together. At the end of the day, I think it'd be better if we just go ahead and delete this, because, like, I just don't see this being a need. So I'm going to go into our face mode, and I'm just going to go select these faces here, and I'm going to delete them. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side here as well. So now we have a playing net. But notice, by the way, that it's only lit on one side. Now this might be this might not be that big of an issue, because let's face it, our players will be seeing it like that. Okay, it won't be really lit up. So you could say, well, this is not going to make a difference if it's lit up or not. And this is where we're going to have to consider if we want to, actually optimize this game. So if you want to do this the most efficient way, it would be like that. Leave it like that. Another way though would be to extrude it a little bit to the outside, and this would be your should make 0 divisions. I don't think you can. Yeah, so you're gonna have to go ahead and delete these after that as well. But essentially, once you get this thing done, I don't think there's an option to get to have no attributes here. No, it's an edge loop. Yeah. So unfortunately, this is the only way you can work this. And after that, clearly all the normals are flipped here because it went the opposite way. So we're gonna have to go into display. Sorry, my bad. Mesh display, and reverse the normals. And now we're gonna have it lit on both sides. However, notice that now it has a depth. Okay, so now it has a depth. And notice that our vert count and face count just doubled, because obviously it doubled because we extruded. Not only that, it actually quadrupled because now we have faces over here, we have faces over here. Obviously, we could just go ahead and extrude by 0.1. I mean, this was quite an extreme example, the way I extruded this. But at any rate, this is definitely something that you should consider to do. Now, I'm not going to go ahead and do this just yet, because we'll see how this net performs in game once we use it, because obviously you can always iterate, and that's the whole idea. All right. Anyway, our net is done and complete. I'm going to go ahead and finish up this video. In the next video, we will make the terrain and the pylons. Obviously, the pylons wouldn't be too hard to make anyway. You just go and create a cylinder or something of the sort, right? And just extend it up, and these are your pylons. I don't even need to make a video for it. There we go. Now, obviously, this is very crude, but I hope you get the idea. All right, you can go into edge mode here and select, in this case, face mode, actually. And just move this sucker up like so, and this would be our pylons. The bigger challenge here would be to actually hook these things up together. So you'd have to grab this, and then you'd have to move it in so that it's connected to this edge. So you'd have to connect these two edges here. You'd have to connect them to the pylon, because remember, we can't just leave them like that. Okay, these need to be connected or welded together or whatnot, so that it's one object. Because at the end of the day, even though we're not going to be optimizing this thing pretty heavily, that's not something that we want to be doing. Okay, just dumping in there tons of these faces. Now, obviously, we can go a little bit fancier and start adding stuff here to the face, for example, right? make it more rounded and whatnot. And obviously this is an n-gon, by the way, so this will also be a problem if we start tapering. As you can see here, what happens if we smooth this, it's going to turn into this spike or whatever. So this is what happened when we got n-gons. Now obviously this is because the settings of the way I created this cylinder were kind of crappy, because if we go ahead and do a create polygon primitive and we go into cylinder, we should probably, because I have 0 captive visions, just maybe probably should reset this to reset the settings to default. Go back to Z though. For some reason I thought when you change the up axis this would automatically change, but you know, that's Maya for you. Anyway guys, that's it for me. You maybe, I don't know, play around with this, maybe try to figure out how to make your own pylons. You most definitely could create a pylon in, you know, in other fashions. So you could go from the side and go and create a curve. Oh my bad, we gotta create a curve from here. I forgot, I still haven't made a hotkey for this stuff, but you could create a curve, like be it an AP curve or whatever. We could make like something of this sort, right? And then you could have something like this. And if we go up here, and then we could rotate this, right? You could select the curve, you could click enter to do this, and then you could go into curves, sorry, surfaces, and you could revolve this around and you'd have a pylon. Though I'm not sure, what did we just output this as? I believe it was outputted as geometry. Yes, this is these are polygons. Yes, they are. So yeah, this is another option. So as you can see, we just made a pylon, even though it's not the prettiest one, and it is definitely unoptimized. I mean, this one pylon has half the faces of well, not half, but like quite a lot of verts. Okay, like the stuff inside, for example, you don't need to see this bit here. You don't need, this is not needed. So we'd have to go ahead and delete this, for example, and clean up the, you know, the surface. So that's why I think a cylinder is a better idea. Obviously, you can start scaling it up and, you know, make it into a proper pylon, or you could just use, you know, scale the actual curve here, you know. But this is just, I think it's kind of overkill of what we're looking at. So I think the simpler you keep it, the better. So just make sure to, well, try it. I don't know. Play around with this software. We'll see. In the next video, we will actually loft the surface. All right? See you guys. Bye-bye.